Welcome to Legally Exempt Online Application Help, brought to you by Chautauqua Opportunities Incorporated, an enrollment agency for the New York State Office of Children and Family Services. First, a couple of definitions. Legally exempt means child care that is exempt from requiring a license or registration, but does require enrollment and is subject to compliance with specific health and safety regulations. It is sometimes referred to as informal care or family or friend care. Subsidy or subsidized is money help eligible families receive to help pay for child care costs. In Chautauqua County, this help is distributed by the Department of Health and Human Services, or DHHS, and families must apply for and be approved for this funding. On page 1, you are going to choose the type of child care you are providing. Do all of the subsidized children in care live in the home where child care is provided? If the answer is yes, you are providing in-home child care. You are a relative-only in-home child care provider if you are related to all of the subsidized children in care as a grandparent or legal spouse of, great-grandparent or legal spouse of, sibling that lives in a separate residence, aunt or uncle or legal spouse of. Relation by court decree, such as adoption, also counts. If you are not one of these relatives, you are providing in-home child care. If all of the subsidized children in care do not live in the home where child care is provided, you are providing family child care. You are a relative-only family child care provider if you are related to all of the subsidized children in care as a grandparent or legal spouse of, great-grandparent or legal spouse of, sibling that lives in a separate residence, aunt or uncle or legal spouse of. Relationship by court decree, such as adoption, also counts. If you are not one of these relatives to the children in care, you are providing family child care. Next, give information about the child care location. Please provide house number and street name, apartment number if applicable, city, state, zip code, and county. Please provide a site phone number you can be reached at while providing child care. This can be your own phone number or another phone number. Is another provider enrolled to provide care at the same address? Yes or no? If yes, please give that provider's name. Is the site address or child care location the same as the provider's address, the parent's address, or another address? Capacity limits. Capacity limits apply when care is for 3 hours and more per day on a regular basis. Providers who provide care in their own home, or family child care providers, if they are related to all of the children in care, are allowed up to 8 per day. A provider not related to any of the children in care may have up to 2 children per day. A provider related to some of the children in care may have up to 2 unrelated with 6 related children per day for a total of 8 children. Providers who are providing care in the home where all of the children in care live has an unlimited capacity. For purposes of capacity, relative means great-grandparent or legal spouse of to the children in care, grandparent or legal spouse of to the children in care, sibling living in a separate residence from the children in care, aunt or uncle or legal spouse of to the children in care, great aunt or great uncle or legal spouse of to the children in care, first cousin or legal spouse of to the children in care. If you are a cousin to the child's parent, you are not a first cousin to the child. On page 2, the provider will give their information at the top. First name, last name, including any aliases such as maiden name, middle initial, suffix if applicable, senior, junior, etc. Gender, date of birth, social security number is optional, preferred language, home address including house number and street name, apartment number if applicable, city, state, zip code, and county. Mailing address. If the provider's mailing address is the same as the home address, the box can be checked. If not, please give all information for the mailing address. This is important because you will be receiving important correspondence. Have you ever been previously enrolled? Yes or no? If yes, please write your enrollment ID number if you know it, email address, home phone number, or a cell phone number or any other phone number you want to provide. At the bottom in section 2, the parent will give their information: first name, last name, including any aliases, middle initial, suffix if applicable, such as senior or junior, etc., date of birth, gender, a home phone number and/or a work phone number and/or a cell phone number, email address, home address, including house number and street name, apartment number if applicable, city, state, zip code, and county, mailing address. If the parent's mailing address is the same as their home address, the box can be checked. If not, please give all information for the mailing address. The subsidy paying county, which is typically the same county that the parent lives in, and preferred language. On page 3, you are going to enter information about the children in care who are receiving subsidies. Please give the child's first name, last name, gender, date of birth, parent's first name and last name, and the provider's relationship to the child. Please complete the schedule of care, including drop-off times and pick-up times for each day in care. Who will be responsible for meals and snacks, the provider or the parent? Who will administer medication, the provider or the parent? Please note, in-home child care providers are permitted to administer medications to the children in care following the parent's instructions. Family child care providers do have restrictions on medication administration. Please see the instruction booklet that came with your enrollment form or call our office. There are spaces for 3 subsidized children. If there are more than that, please list them on a separate piece of paper, but be sure to include all of the same information that is on this page. On page 4 at the top, please list any children in care who do not receive subsidies. If there are no children in care who do not receive subsidies, please check the box that says none. If there are children, please give the child's first name, age, parent's first name, the provider's relationship to the child, and a complete schedule of care, including drop-off times and pick-up times for each day in care. There are spaces for 2 children. If there are more than 2 children who do not receive subsidies in care, please list them on a separate piece of paper, but be sure to include all of the same information. In the middle, the provider will give information about any of their own children at the child care site during child care hours. This would be children who are under the age of 13. Please give the number of children and list the ages. If the provider has none of their own children in care at the child care site during child care hours, check the box that says none. In section 5, all providers will answer the 2 questions. Have you ever had an application for a license or registration to operate a child daycare program denied? Yes or no? Have you ever had a license or registration to operate a child daycare program revoked, limited, or suspended? Yes or no? In section 6, only relative-only child care providers will answer the questions. Have you ever had your parental rights terminated under Social Services Law 384B or equivalent legal authority? Yes or no? Have you ever had a child removed from your care by court order in a proceeding under Article 10 of the Family Court Act? Yes or no? Have you ever been convicted of a crime in the state of New York or any other jurisdiction? Yes or no? Have you ever been the subject of an indicated report of child abuse and maltreatment? Yes or no? If you answered yes, have you provided the parent with true and accurate descriptions of the incident and the date of indication? Yes or no? On page 5 at the top in section 7, providers will answer questions regarding training requirements. Non-related providers are required to complete 5 hours of pre-service training called Foundations in Health and Safety. Please choose the best option. I am required to complete 5 hours of health and safety pre-service training and have attached or emailed my certificates to the enrollment agency. Or I previously enrolled as a provider and have already submitted my certificate to the enrollment agency. Or not applicable, I am a relative only in-home or relative only family child care provider. Providers who are re-enrolling and are not related to the children in care are required to complete 5 hours of annual training. This can be the Foundations in Health and Safety course taken again, or other office-approved trainings that add up to 5 hours. Please choose the best option. I have attached or emailed my certificates of completion of 5 hours of training to the enrollment agency. Or not applicable, I am not yet enrolled as a legally exempt provider. Or not applicable, I am a relative only in-home or relative only family child care provider. Enhanced rate training. The enhanced rate is a higher rate of pay providers can receive if they complete 10 or more hours of training. Relative only providers must complete 10 hours of training. Non-relative providers must complete 10 hours of training in addition to the required 5 hours of training. Please choose the best option. I have attached or emailed my certificates of completion of 10 hours or more of training as proof of eligibility for the enhanced rate. Or not applicable, I am not applying for the enhanced rate. The enhanced rate is voluntary. In Section 8, relative only providers who are providing care in their own home or non-relative providers providing care in their own home must list household members that are 18 years and older living at the child care site. All providers must list employees or volunteers. If you do not have any of these people at the child care site, you can check the box that says none. If you do have any of these people at the child care site, please list them here, giving their first name, last name, middle initial, their role in the program, household member and or employee and or volunteer, their date of birth, are they related to the children in any way, yes or no? If yes, how are they related? If you do list people in Section 8, please answer the relevant history questions in Section 9, which continues on the next page. On page 5 in Section 8, if you listed other persons at the child care site, such as household members 18 and over, or employees or volunteers, please answer the 2 questions at the top of page 6 in Section 9. Number 1, have any of your employees, volunteers, and or persons over the age of 18 living at the child care site been convicted of a crime in the state of New York or any other jurisdiction? Yes or no? And number 2, I have asked my employees, volunteers, and or persons over the age of 18 living at the child care site if they have ever been the subject of a case of indicated child abuse and maltreatment, and if they have, that you have informed the parent of these incidences, yes or no. In Section 10, the provider will answer questions about employee and volunteer training requirements. Please choose the best option. All employees and volunteers have completed 5 hours of health and safety pre-service training, and a copy of certificate will be kept on site. Or, not applicable, provider is related to every child receiving subsidy and care. Or, not applicable, provider does not have employees or volunteers. If the provider does not have employees or volunteers at the site, the third option is the best one to choose. Employees and volunteer annual training. For providers who are re-enrolling, choose the best option. All employees and volunteers have completed an additional 5 hours of annual training, and a copy of certificate will be kept on site. Or, not applicable, provider is related to every child receiving subsidy and care. Or, not applicable, provider does not have employees or volunteers. In Section 11, if the provider has indicated a history of daycare enforcement, please provide the details here. If the provider or any household member 18 years or older, or employees or volunteers at the site have indicated a history of criminal conviction, please provide those details here. And if the provider has indicated a history of termination of parental rights and/or court-ordered Article 10 removal of a child, please give that information here. On page 7, the provider will read the certification, sign in ink and date. The parent will read the certification, sign in ink and date. Non-relative providers, which include great aunts, great uncles, siblings living in the same residence as the children in care, cousins to the children in care, and those not related at all, are required to complete a comprehensive background check, or CBC for short. The paperwork for this will be sent to you by the enrollment agency once your enrollment application is complete. Household members 18 years and older, not related in some way to the children in care, living at non-relative family child care sites, and employees, volunteers who are not working for a relative-only provider are also required to complete a CBC. This concludes the online application help video. If you still have questions, please call us at 716-661-9430, extension 2300, and we'd be happy to answer your questions. Habla español 716-366-8176, extensión 3246.